Welcome to R&R Living Life. In this episode, Rick and I leave Jindabyne and make our way back towards Cooma before taking the Snowy Mountains Highway to Tumut and then on through Adelong to Tarcutta, where we camp overnight before continuing on to Wagga Wagga, Ora and Wantabadgery. Just outside of Cooma, we took the Snowy Mountains Highway, a 333 kilometre long stretch of highway connecting the south coast, the Monaro region and the southwestern slopes, passing through the Snowy Mountains and the northern Kosciuszko National Park. The highway had some stunning scenery, and in winter months the high altitude sections of the highway can be subject to snow cover, hence the yellow lines, and we were reminded along the way to have snow chains. It being autumn, we didn't need any. Originally named the Monaro Highway until 1955, when it was renamed. Covering approximately 6,900 square kilometres, Kosciuszko National Park is an extraordinary fusion of high country alpine landscapes, subalpine woodlands and diverse ecosystems that together form a vibrant tapestry of natural beauty. The terrain is a mixture of rugged granite outcrops and gently rolling meadows, interspersed with dense forests of snow gums and alpine flora that bloom in a riot of colours during the summer months. It really was an amazing journey today, even seeing wild brumbies. There are an estimated 14,000 brumbies roaming the Kosciuszko National Park. As much as I love horses, they are an introduced mammal into such a pristine alpine and subalpine ecosystem. Like the wild camels in outback Australia, they were brought into these areas with a specific role in helping man. The heritage value of both species cannot be undervalued, but like rabbits, they do not belong in such environments. The highway passes through Kiandra, which was the site of the first ski resort in Australia. There is very little left of Kiandra, an abandoned gold mining town and the birthplace of Australian skiing. It had been earlier called Gibson Plains, after a Dr. Gibson, a settler in the district in 1839. Kiandra sits at 1,400 metres above sea level and is situated on a high treeless ridge on the banks of the Jindabyne River, which is snow-covered in winter and subjected to high winds. It lies in the Australian Alps montane grasslands bioregion. After decades of decline, restoration work on the remaining buildings at Kiandra took place from 2009 to 2020, while the remaining buildings in the town were either destroyed or severely damaged by the 2019-20 bushfire season. In November 1859, gold was discovered by mountain cattlemen, the Pollock brothers, and by March 1860 some 10,000 miners and storekeepers had raced to the scene. However, by 1861 reports of easy pickings were exhausted, resulting in a mass exodus. Significant numbers of Chinese people worked the Kiandra goldfields, with many of the miners building the 3 Mile Dam in 1882 to assist with sluicing operations. The scenic lake still exists and now supplies Selborne snowfields with its snow-making water requirements. The last mining operations finally ceased around 1905. As the town was often isolated by deep snow which made it inaccessible during winter, in 1861 Norwegian miners introduced recreational skiing in the snowbound mining settlement, after manufacturing over 40 pairs of both short skis, known as skates, and the longer snowshoes. Tumut is an exceptionally pretty country town, nestled in a valley on the edge of the Snowy Mountains, surrounded by rolling foothills. As early as the 1850s, the European settlers, dreaming of their home, planted poplars and willow trees along the banks of the Tumut River. The town is said to have 4 distinct seasons, with summer blisteringly hot, autumn with its riot of reds, orange, yellows, burgundies and browns, winter commonly sees snows on the surrounding hills and fog, as well as heavy frost in the valleys, while spring bursts into the valley with its intense green before burning off with the approach of the summer suns. The Tumut River runs for 145 kilometres before joining the Murrumbidgee River at Jindabyne, flows through the valley. Fertile river flats spread out on either side of it. The rainfall, most of which falls in the winter between June and September, virtually ensures that the valley is green and fertile for most of the year, so different from living out west in Queensland. One of the town's most distinctive features was the stand of Lombardy poplars, with the original row, and therefore the oldest, planted in 1861. In 1824, the explorers Hume and Hovell travelled down the Murrumbidgee River, discovered the point where the Tumut River met the Murrumbidgee, and entered the Tumut Valley. By 1828, settlers had moved into the valley. Thomas Boyd, an Irishman who had been on Hume and Hovell's expedition, settled at Rosebank near Gilmore, and a Mr. Warby also settled in the area near Brungle. In November 1828, the explorer Charles Sturt stayed at Warby's house. Elizabeth Warby, possibly the first European to be born in the valley, was born in May 1830. During the next 30 years, the district was slowly settled by squatters, and by 1856 the town had 3 pubs, a single school building, and a few mud and slab huts. A major flood in 1852 persuaded the settlers to move the town to higher ground. We pass Visy Pulp and Paper Mill at Gilmore, opened in 2001 to process wood chip from southern New South Wales softwood plantations and recycle paper from the eastern states, producing over 680,000 tonnes of craft paper annually. Between 2001 and 2006, it was estimated that Visy was directly and indirectly involved in the employment of 2,800 people in the Tumut Shire. About 13 kilometres upstream from Tumut was the ungated Blowering Dam, located on the Tumut River, one of the largest dams in New South Wales, known for its role in storing water released from the Snowy Mountains hydroelectric scheme, providing water for irrigation, hydroelectricity and other purpose. The dam, 747 metres long, and with a dam wall 120 metres high, was the last to be constructed in 1968 as part of the Snowy Mountains scheme, the vast hydroelectric and irrigation complex constructed between 1949 and 1974. Ken Warby set the world water speed record on Blowering Dam in 1978, driving his jet-powered boat Spirit of Australia at 511 kilometres per hour. There is now no way the same could happen today, with the dam being so low. We continued on to Adelong. Adelong looks like one of those small country towns where time has stood still. Nestled on the banks of Adelong Creek, it is said to be the heritage gateway to the Snowy Mountains, with its tree-lined, veranda-clad buildings lining the main street, with buildings dating back to the gold rush era of the 1800s. The Adelong Creek Station was established in 1843. Gold was discovered in 1853, resulting in a gold rush, and 2 years later there were 2,000 miners spread across the narrow valley. By the 1860s the town had grown to around 20,000 people. In 1856 the town was formally gazetted, and by 1857 more gold was being found in the district. William Williams discovered reef and alluvial gold on Mount Charcoal, and as the folk legend would have it, at one point he bought a mining claim for £40,000 and sold it for £75,000 later the same day. By the 1860s the town's population had reached 20,000, with nearly 3,000 miners Chinese. Through the 1860s and 1870s the town boomed with mines and batteries to crush the reef gold opening up along the valley. The mines had names like Donkey Hill, the Challenger, Lady Mary, Long Tunnel, Great Victoria and Gibraltar. In 1915, as miners left to go to war, the Gibraltar mine closed down. Today the town is a small service centre for the surrounding farmers, with cattle, sheep and orchards dominating, and all that remains of the booming gold mining town is a charming historic remnant, with large sections of the main street being classified by the National Trust. In nearby heritage-listed industrial site of Adelong Falls Gold Mill ruins boast a remarkable collection of stone ruins and the remains of the Reefer quartz crushing mill. We continued on to Tarcutta, that takes its name from a property which was established in the area in 1839 by George Macleay. Tarcutta was once a major trucking stop on the Hume Highway, as close to the halfway point between the two capital cities of Sydney and Melbourne. Consequently, for most of its life, the small town had been a stopping point for travellers wanting to take a much-needed break. In 2011, it was bypassed, which has meant that the town is now quiet. The main attraction is the genuinely interesting and very sad Truck Drivers Memorial, which is a monument to the memory of truck drivers who had been accidentally killed while performing their duties in the transport industry. It was certainly well worth visiting. The area was first explored by Europeans when Hume and Hovell passed through it on their way from Sydney to Port Phillip. By 1835-1837, Humbledon, a U-shaped slab hut, was built at Tarcutta, the first inn and post office to be built between Jindabyne and Albury. In 1836, Thomas Hodges' mate settled on land which is now known as Tarcutta, after searching for cattle which had strayed. In 1890, Tarcutta was officially proclaimed as a village, and by 1917 the railway reached the town. In 1987, the branch railway line from Tarcutta to Tumbarumba was closed. What a great place to visit! The following morning we made our way towards Wagga Wagga, the largest regional centre in the heart of the Riverina. Located on the banks of the Murrumbidgee River, Wagga Wagga is considered the main commercial and administrative centre in the Riverina region, with many fine buildings along the tree-lined streets. In the 1820s, a small number of squatters had moved into the area and were establishing pastoral properties, and by 1829 Charles Sturt made an historic journey down the Murrumbidgee from Gundagai, opening up the whole area to settlement, with properties established on both the north and south banks of the Murrumbidgee. In 1832, Robert Best built a homestead on a property he called Wagga Wagga. Best's property became an important river crossing, as it was ideally located at the intersection of the north-south track between New South Wales and Victoria, and the east-west track along the Murrumbidgee. By 1846, grazing had evolved and the first crop in the area was farmed, with Wagga Wagga proclaimed a town in 1849. In 1850, a regular punt service across the Murrumbidgee was established, and in 1851 the first store was opened in the tiny town, while in the late 1850s Wagga Wagga became an important stock sales centre. The first paddle steamer on the Murrumbidgee arrived at Wagga Wagga in 1858, followed by a toll bridge across the river that was opened in 1862, with the railway reaching North Wagga in 1878. The toll bridge was replaced in 1895 by the Hampden Bridge across the Murrumbidgee. The last paddle steamer to visit Wagga Wagga travelled up the Murrumbidgee River in 1905. A 2,500-metre trestle bridge was built across the Murrumbidgee in 1879 to allow the railway line to continue to South Wagga. A jail replaced the old police lock-up in 1862. Prior to the lock-up, prisoners had been chained to a log while awaiting their hearings. Successful experiments by William Farrer at Wagga Wagga Experimental Farm in the 1890s produced new disease-resistant strains and higher yields of wheat. From Wagga Wagga we made our way through the tiny settlement of Ora in the central east part of the Riverina, just off the Murrumbidgee River, approximately 15 kilometres northeast of Wagga Wagga. The town sits in a bend in the river. The Ora Beach Reserve runs for about 200 metres along the right-hand bank of the river. As well, there is the Ora Travelling Stock Reserve that continues another 800 metres along the bank. The reserve is signposted from the village of Ora and is off Wantabadgery Road and Wagga Wagga streets. We will leave you for this episode as we made a stop in Wantabadgery, formerly an Aboriginal mission, about 35 kilometres east of Wagga Wagga. The Wantabadgery Post Office opened in December 1923 and closed in 1966. The story of the Wantabadgery siege is one of the most remarkable in bushranging history. There are equal measures of travesty, horror, despair and letdown. In late October 1879, Andrew George Scott, Captain Moonlight, led a group of men out of Melbourne looking for work, including James Nesbitt, who he had met while in Melbourne prison, Frank Johns, an ex-con Thomas Rogan, and a teenager Augustus Warnecke, with Graham Bennett later joining the group. After being refused work, shelter and food, by this stage they were on the verge of starvation. After spending cold and rainy nights in the bush, they held up Wantabadgery Sheep Station for 2 nights, as well as robbing the Australian Arms Hotel of a large quantity of alcohol, and took prisoners in residence of some of the other neighbouring properties, earning them the reputation as the Wantabadgery Bushrangers. While they were holed up in the farmhouse of Edmund McGleed, the police found them, leading to a gunfight. Nesbitt was shot. Augustus Warnecke also died in the gunfire. One police officer, Constable Bowen, was mortally wounded in the gunfight. It is unknown who shot him, but forensic evidence suggests it was not Scott or Nesbitt. Captain Moonlight was no ordinary bushranger, having been born in Ireland, was well educated and the son of a pastor, but still turned to bushranging. With his capture, Moonlight was found guilty of murder and sentenced to death by hanging. There is so much interesting history in these small country towns. I hope you have enjoyed this episode. Give us a thumbs up if you have. Join us next time as we continue our journey. Stay safe and enjoy life. Cheers for now. Rick and Rosemary. R&R, living life.